good hunter, I trust the night of the hunt brought with it innumerable victories of sweetness beyond measure. And now I bid thee a warm welcome back to our place of rest. Join me here on these steps, and let us dream within this dream, while the high crimson moon whispers to us tales and elucidations of item descriptions, beginning with Consumables. Blood vial. Special blood used in ministration restores health. Once a patient has had their blood administered, a unique but common treatment in Yharnam, successive infusions recall the first and are all the more invigorating for it. No surprise that most Yharnamites are heavy users of blood. Quicksilver bullets. Special bullets used with hunter firearms. Ordinary bullets have no effect on beasts, and so quicksilver bullets, fused with the wielder's own blood, must be employed. The strength of quicksilver bullets depends greatly upon the wielder's blood tinge. Iosefka's blood vial. Blood vial acquired from Iosefka's clinic. This refined blood, highly invigorating, restores a larger amount of health. The product of a slow and careful refinement process, this rare blood vial appears to be a clinic original. Blood of Ariana. Blood taken from Ariana, cathedral ward woman of pleasure. The sweet blood of Ariana restores health and temporarily speeds stamina recovery. A member of the old healing church would know that her blood is similar indeed to precisely what was once forbidden. Blood of Adela. Blood taken from Adela, nun of the healing church, restores an amount of health, then continues to gradually restore health for a short time. The healing church nuns are chosen for their merit as vessels for blood and groomed as blood saints. The mere chance of being treated with their blood lends legitimacy to the healing church and communion. Blood of Adeline. Blood taken from Adeline, patient of the research hall, restores health and continues to rejuvenate health for some time. Adeline was originally one of the blood saints who received treatment by the church to cultivate worthy blood. Adeline's was one of the few cases that turned out favorably. Antidote. Small medicinal tablets that counteract poison, used to treat ashen blood, the baffling sickness that ravaged old Yharnam long ago. These tablets only provide short-term relief. The ashen blood ailment eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge. Beast blood pellet. Large medicinal pellets supposedly formed of coagulated beast blood, banned by the healing church due to their unclear origin, grants a spurt of beasthood. Ripping apart the flesh of one's enemies and being rained upon by their splattering blood invigorates one's sense of beasthood, feeding strength and euphoric feeling alike. Sedative. Liquid medicine concocted at Bergenworth calms the nerves. Those who delve into the arcane fall all too easily to madness, and thick human blood serves to calm the frayed nerves of these inquisitive minds. Naturally, this often leads to a reliance on blood administration. Blue elixir. Dubious liquid medicine used in strange experiments conducted by high ministers of the healing church. A type of anesthetic that numbs the brain. Hunters able to retain consciousness by force of will make use of a secondary effect of the medicine, which dilutes their presence while standing still. Lead elixir, a heavy, syrupy liquid medicine temporarily shifts weight to make deflection of attacks easier, but must be used with care, as it also slows movement with no change to defense. Its recipe for this mysterious concoction is unknown, but some postulate that it materializes only within the most desperate nightmares. Poison knife. A knife slathered in poison. This curved knife is as thin and sharp as a surgeon's blade, often used for self-defense by special doctors in the healing church. They say that hunters traditionally avoid the use of poison, likely because the poison is too slow to act in the heat of the hunt. Pebble. Small pebbles found throughout Yarnham can be thrown at foes, quite thrilling. Molotov cocktail explodes in raging flames when thrown against an object, one of the oldest hunter tools available in the workshop. Since the tragedy that struck old Yarnham, fire has become a staple in beast hunts and is thought to cleanse impurity. Certain types of beasts have an abnormal fear of flame. Delayed Molotov, a special hunter tool crafted by the old Otto workshop. These Molotovs wedge into the ground when thrown and explode on a timed delay. A shame that such a complex gadget must be sacrificed with each use of this inefficient hunter tool. Nevertheless, delayed Molotovs are cherished by the minority of hunters who prefer the trixier kill. This creation is one of the earliest known roots of the powder kegs. Delayed rope Molotov, a special hunter tool crafted by the old Otto workshop. These Molotovs wedge into the ground when thrown behind one's back and explode on a timed delay. Fire paper. Coarse paper that applies fire to weapons when rubbed. A hunter tool found in the healing church workshop. Since the tragedy that struck old Yarnham, fire has become a staple in beast hunts and is thought to cleanse impurity. Certain types of beasts have an abnormal fear of flame. Bolt paper. Coarse paper that applies bolt to weapons when rubbed, invented by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the healing church workshop, artificially recreates the blue sparks that are said to surround dark beasts. Unlike the other strange weapons created by Archibald, this one was favored by many hunters, in particular those who had even once laid eyes on a dark beast. Bone marrow ash, additional medium that strengthens quicksilver bullets. According to the workshop, this is a special bone marrow ash collected from Hemwick Charnel Lane, invaluable to hunters with weak blood tinge who require the use of stronger firearms. Shaman bone blade, a blade of bone coated with gruesome spinal fluid, used by old labyrinth watchers, in particular those presiding over rituals. When a victim is cut by this blade, the green spinal fluid temporarily numbs the senses, disturbing the target's gross motor skills. The blade, never intended for battle, must cut deep to be effective, and breaks. Throwing knife. Throwing knife with a finely serrated blade, one of the old hunter Monrique's favorite weapons, does not cause a great deal of damage to beasts, but with deft use can distract attackers and keep them at bay. Oil urn. When this urn hits its mark, the target is drenched in oil and made extremely flammable. Fire is commonplace on the hunt, and oil urns accentuate its effect. Sometimes, when hunters burn beasts, they appear intoxicated by the euphoria of purification. Numbing mist. Throw to create a mist cloud that numbs a hunter's life essence and prevents restoration of health. Said to be used by the blood hunters of Canehurst, its recipe is a secret closely guarded by the line of nobles inhabiting releases a pungent odor when thrown that attracts bloodthirsty beasts, a precious tool in sadly short supply. In Yarnum, they produce more blood than alcohol, as the former is the more intoxicating. Old Hunter's Mark, dangling upside-down rune etched in the mind of a hunter. This reminder allows one to envision the rune with clarity, allows a hunter to awaken again without losing blood echoes, a trick that seems nearly too good to be true. Shining coins, various coins that are particularly luminous. There are very few uses for spare change during the hunt, but these will serve as guides through the darkness. Or one could save them until morning, if it ever comes. Hand lantern, small portable lantern. This hunting accessory provides light while leaving both hands free to hold weapons. The torch, however, provides a stronger source of light. Monocular. Monocular used to view things up close. Not a hunter's tool, but a simple antique to be used as one sees fit. Cold blood dew. Droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes, used to gain blood echoes. Hunters sustained by the dream gain strength from blood echoes. They imbibe the blood with thoughts of reverence, indeed gratitude, for their victims. Frenzied cold blood. A rich droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes, used to gain frenzied blood echoes. This manifestation of madness comes from a mind teetering on the very brink, but has a sane mind ever produced anything of true significance? Thick cold blood, a thick droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes, used to gain larger amount of blood echoes. A strong will produces thick blood, doubtless the production of obsession, a potent source of human strength. Kin cold blood of inhuman kin of the cosmos, brethren of the great ones, used to gain unspeakable blood echoes. Dare not to delve into the world beyond humanity, the eldritch truth touched upon long ago at Bergenworth. Great One cold blood, relic containing the blood echoes of a great one, used to gain cosmically nightmarish blood echoes. Like a true revelation, this uncanny relic defies understanding. Great One's wisdom, fragments of the lost wisdom of the Great Ones, beings that might be described as gods, used to gain insight. At Bergenworth, Master Willem had an epiphany. We are thinking on the basest of planes. What we need are more eyes. Third umbilical cord from the abandoned workshop. A great relic, also known as the cord of the eye. Every infant Great One has this precursor to the umbilical cord. Every Great One loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Used to gain insight and, so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. Third umbilical cord from Ariana's celestial child. Every Great One loses its child, and then yearns for a surrogate, and Odin, the formless Great One, is no different. To think it was corrupted blood that began this eldritch liaison. Third umbilical cord from the impostor Yosefka. Provost William sought the cord in order to elevate his being and thoughts to those of a Great One by lining his brain with eyes, the only choice he knew if man were to ever match their greatness. Third umbilical cord from Murgo's wet nurse. Every Great One loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. This court granted Menses audience with Murgo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains. Vermin, a centipede-like creature discovered on successful hunts by League hunters. Vermin found hidden within filth are only seen by League confederates and are the root of man's impurity. The League has assumed the task of finding and crushing all vermin. Perhaps there is some mercy in the madness. Those who wish to see vermin can, and those who choose to are provided with boundless purpose. Blooddreg, the vile bloods of Cainhurst, bloodlusting hunters see these frightful things in cold blood. They often appear in the blood of echo fiends, that is to say, the blood of hunters. Queen Annalise partakes in these blooddreg offerings so that she may one day bear the child of blood, the next vile blood heir. Red jeweled brooch, a woman's bright red brooch engraved with the name Viola. Perhaps the jewel is a gift from a hunter, used to change into a droplet blood gem that fortifies any weapon. With the proper workshop tool, various weapons can be fortified. Tiny music box, a small music box received from a young Yarnum girl, plays a song shared by her mother and father. Inside the lid is a small scrap of paper, perhaps an old message. 2 names can be made out, however faintly: Viola and Gascoigne. Gold pendant of Vicar Amelia, used to change into a blood gem which fortifies weapons. This pendant, passed down among the vicars who head the healing church, is a reminder of the cautionary adage: to reveal the adage, touch the altar's skull. Tearstone, silver shining tearstone, used to change into a droplet blood gem that fortifies any weapon. A doll sheds neither blood nor tears, and thus its nature remains unknown. Whoever thinks this is precious must be troubled by severe naivety. Hunter's mark, dangling upside-down rune etched in one's mind, symbol of a hunter. By focusing one's thoughts on this rune, a hunter loses all blood echoes, but awakens afresh, as if it were all just a bad dream. Old hunter bone, the bone of an old hunter whose name is lost. It is said that he was an apprentice to old Gehrman and a practitioner of the art of quickening, a technique particular to the first hunters. It is most appropriate that hunters, carriers of the torch who are sustained by the dream, would tease an old art from his remains. Tiny Denitrus. Tiny Denitrus is a unique weapon crafted by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church workshop. This is a similar Morning Star mace that utilizes quick silver bullets. When struck into the ground, it recreates the blue sparks that are said to surround the dark beasts. Like Archibald's masterpiece, this too is a superb conductor of the powerful blue sparks. Empty phantasm shell. Empty invertebrate shell that is said to be a familiar of a great one. The Healing Church has discovered a great variety of invertebrates, or phantasms as they are called. Shells with slime still harbor arcane power and can be rubbed on weapons to imbue them with their strength. Black Sky Eye, soft eye, blessed by a phantasm. They were discovered through Bergenworth's contact with the arcane, but in the end revealed nothing. the eldritch truth encountered at Bergenworth use phantasms, the invertebrates known to be the augurs of the Great Ones, to partially summon abandoned ebrietors. The initial encounter marked the start of an inquiry into the cosmos from within the old labyrinth and led to the establishment of the choir. A call beyond, one of the secret rites of the choir. Long ago, the healing church used phantasms to reach a lofty plane of darkness, but failed to make contact with the outer reaches of the cosmos. The rite failed to achieve its intended purpose, but instead created a small exploding star, now a powerful part of the choir's arsenal. At times, failure is the mother of invention. Choir bell, special hunter tool of the choir, high-ranking members of the church, fashioned after a bell that projects an arcane sound across planes of existence. The sound of this smaller, silver version of the bell does not cross planes, but grants vigor and healing to all cooperators. Beast Roar, one of the forbidden hunter tools made by irreverent Izzy. Borrow the strength of the terrible undead dark beasts, if only for a moment, to blast surrounding foes back with the force of a roaring beast. The indescribable sound is broadcast with the caster's own vocal cords, which begs the question, what terrible things lurk deep within the frames of men? Madara's whistle. Whistle of the Madara's twins, denizens of the Forbidden Woods. The twins grew up alongside a poisonous snake and developed a silent, inhuman kinship. The poisonous snake grew uncontrollably, raised on a healthy diet of beast entrails. Even after their deaths, it is said to respond to the call of the twins' whistle from within the nightmare. Executioner's gloves. One of the secret treasures hidden in Canehurst, the gloves of an executioner from a faraway land. Passed from executioner father to executioner son, these gloves can be used to summon wrathful spirits of the past by smearing them with blood. It is said that the nobles found immeasurable delight in the dances of these vengeful spectres. Messenger's gift, a strange gift from the messengers, inhabitants of the dream, who revere the brave hunters. Used to envelop oneself in a black, nightmarish mist, then transform into a messenger. The illusion is a parlor bells are linked by the resonance of bells with special encoded timbers. This inaudible burst disrupts such resonance. Fire to end cooperation and prevent further cooperation. Firing this does not disrupt the resonance of a sinister bell. Notebook. Messengers are inhabitants of the dream who revere the brave hunters. Use them to send messages to other worlds. Leave notes with messengers. Read the notes left by messengers in other worlds and rate notes to participate in the formation of a shared interplane intelligence. Moving on to key items. Gainhurst summons. An old, blood-stained summons inviting an honored guest to the forsaken Castle Gainhurst. Rather bafflingly, it is addressed to you. Do not hesitate. The stagecoach leaves from Hemwick Crossing. Hunter Chief Emblem, a cloth emblem that belonged to the captain of the church hunters long ago, opens the main gate that leads to the round plaza of the great cathedral. The main gate is shut tight on nights of the hunt and could only be opened from the other side with this emblem. In other words, the captain's return and this emblem determined the end of the hunt. Iron Door Key. Of the 3 great bridges that link the 2 cathedral cradles, this key opens the iron door that leads to the mid-level bridge. There are no thieves in the nightmare. Then why lock a door? Be warned, there must be a very, very good reason. Lecture Theatre Key. Key to the lecture theatre in the lecture building. Today, the 2-story lecture building is adrift in the nightmare, but once it was a place of reflection, where scholars learned of history and archaeology. Perhaps it still is, as the students in the lecture theatre appear to await the return of their professor. Lunarium Key. Key to the lunarium facing the lake on the 2nd floor of Bergenworth College. In his final years, Master Willem was fond of the lookout and the rocking chair that he kept there for meditation. In the end, it is said, he left his secret with the lake. Odin Tomb Key. Key to the gate that blocks the tomb of Odin. Beyond the tomb, Odin Chapel can be found in the center of the cathedral ward. Only today, the church is abandoned, and some say that the residents of Odin have all gone mad. Old Hunter Bell, one of the resonating bells that cross the gaps of worlds. This bell is cracked and stained with the blood of beasts. A human must expend insight to ring this uncanny bell. The old hunters, who have long passed from the dream but cannot forget the feeling of the hunt, rely upon messengers to relay their thoughts. Ring the bell at their side, and they are certain to give a listen, for the night of the hunt is long and unchanging. Orphanage Key. Key to the orphanage, birthplace of the choir. The orphanage, shadowed by the grand cathedral, was a place of scholarship and experimentation, where young orphans became potent, unseen thinkers for the healing church. The choir that would later split from the healing church was a creation of the orphanage. Queenly Flesh. What remains of Annalise, Blood Queen of Gainhurst? This pinkish lump of flesh remains warm as if cursed. All hail the undying Queen of Blood. Ring of Betrothal. The inhuman beings known as the Great Ones imbued this ring of betrothal with some special meaning. In the age of the Great Ones, wedlock was a blood contract only permitted grant you strength. Unopened summons, an old sealed summons, like the first of its kind. It is an invitation to Canehurst, but for whom is not known, as it lacks an addressee. Upper Cathedral Key, the key to the Upper Cathedral Ward seal. The upper echelons of the Healing Church are formed by the School of Mensis, based in the unseen village, and the choir occupying the Upper Cathedral Ward. This key brings one a step closer to the choir. Yarnham Stone, a sacred heirloom left by Yarnham to Marian Queen. The Queen lies dead, but her horrific consciousness is only asleep and stirs in unsettling motions. Astral Clock Tower Key, key to the Astral Clock Tower at the top of the Grand Cathedral. The caretaker of the tower's numerous patients, known to them only as Lady Maria, made her home behind the giant star-interpreting clock. Balcony Key, key to the balcony on the first floor of the research hall. Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower gave this to the patient, Adeline. Maria had hoped Adeline would find comfort in the faint breeze that carried the scent of flowers from the outside, but Adeline couldn't fathom her intentions. Brain fluid, greyish amoeba-shaped brain fluid, wobbles and bounces when dropped by the enlarged head at the top of the research hall, extracted from a patient whose head expanded until that was all that they were. In the early days of the Healing Church, the Great Ones were linked to the ocean, and so the cerebral patients would imbibe water and listen for the howl of the sea. Brain fluid writhed inside the head, the initial makings of internal eyes. Brain fluid dropped by the enlarged head before the living failures. Once, a young girl had an older brother who was determined to become a doctor, and so she willfully became his patient. In the end, this led to the encounter with the eldritch truth, for which they considered themselves blessed. Brain fluid dropped by Adeline, research hall patient. We fail to realize our own latent potential until the moment it is lost, and we sense its absence. Ironically, this is the very nature of insight, like the moment one licks one's own blood, only to be startled by its sweetness. Celestial dial, a celestial dial that functions with the giant astral clock in the Grand Cathedral. When the dial is held up toward the astral clock, the clock will come to life and reveal a secret to its curious interloper. Eye of a blood-drunk hunter. The eye of a blood-drunk hunter. Its pupil is collapsed and turned to mush, indicating the onset of once a lone madman. He wears a beast hide and rings a bell that emits no sound. Unending death awaits those who can hear the soundless bell. Underground cell key, key to the cell below the grand cathedral. Hunters are held within the underground cell, so that things better left unseen and knowledge better left unknown will decay quietly in the fallow darkness. Black messenger hat, hat that messengers are oddly fond of, symbol of the preventative hunters of the healing church. The inhabitants of the stump appear to have an interest in adornment. Why not let them be happy and revel as babes? Bloody messenger head bandage, accessory adored by naive messengers imitating the bandages of scourge victims, unaware of their meaning. The spatters of blood give it a particularly nice touch. Messenger top hat, hat that messengers are oddly fond of. A nice top hat rounds out any Yarnum gentleman. Messenger urn festival, accessory adored by naive messengers. The messengers wear the urns filled with incense that wards off beasts on their heads upside down, suggesting a prediction to the dark. Red messenger ribbon, red ribbon that messengers are oddly fond of. The thick, pungent red was drawn from the organs of some unfortunate victim. White messenger ribbon, white ribbon that messengers are oddly fond of. A ribbon made of fine lace that shines remarkably, more suited to pretty young girls than silly old messengers. Yarnum messenger hat, hat that messengers are oddly fond of, commonly called a Yarnum hat. Materials: bloodstone shard, twin bloodstone shard, hand bloodstone chunk, a solid shard that forms in cold blood. After death, a substance in the blood hardens, and that which does not crystallize is called a bloodstone. Blood rock. This is no mere chunk, it is nearly a boulder. Few bloodstones of such size have ever been discovered, even considering the combined experience of all the hunters. Ritual materials: arcane haze, material used in a holy chalice rite. The tiny smatterings of haze that are found in certain ritual materials, sometimes required for special rites. The additional right sinister bell makes the bell-ringing woman appear, and when she rings a sinister bell, hunters from other worlds will be beckoned as adversaries. Bloodshot eyeball, an exquisite eyeball removed quickly after death, or perhaps even before, used to unlock the seal of the old labyrinth into tombs. Blooming gold blood flower, pale of a beckons ungodly forces, normally terrifying things, but also worthy prey for a special hunt. Living string, the immense brain that Mensis retrieved from the nightmare was indeed lined with eyes on the inside, but they were of an evil sort, and the brain itself was terribly rotten. But even still, it was a legitimate great one, and left a relic, a living relic at that, which is a precious thing indeed. Sage's hair and Sage's wrist, a body part of a saint sacrificed by the healing church in their search for truth. The additional rite, fetid offering, invigorates the watchers, making them more treacherous than normal, but also making them worthy prey for a special hunt. Yellow backbone, special body parts collected by the healing church. What was this gruesome bait used to lure? The additional rite, rotted offering, beckons ungodly forces, normally terrifying things,